Jeff Bezos don't pay no taxes. Trump definitely don't pay no
$750
taxes.
in taxes.
But I'm scared of getting mad. Can we ask how you do that? Like, we can all do that, for real.
You know, these key terms that people use. Oh, he's a socialist. Dude, if it wasn't for socialism, our government would have failed.
My first obligations to my family. After that, how I help folks should be up to me.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
The drinks with friends.
The drinks with friends.
How you guys feeling today?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. So, early this month, you know, we got a new president who was elected actually a couple weeks ago. Just wanted to, you know, have a quick, you know, wrap around conversation to see like how y'all were feeling about this right now.
I mean, it's new, right? It's new. It's a change. It's like, you know, we had 4 years of something that we've never seen before. You know, first time a president wasn't previously in politics. You know, he did what he needed to do, and then the world made a choice to have Biden now and Kamala in there. So, you know, I think we're excited to see what's happening. I mean, obviously, during COVID, we had some challenges. So, you know, we hope this person can get us out of this sad time, get us back to work, and hopefully put money in people's pockets.
I think my bad, man. You got
He already knows what he's about to do.
No.
man. What I was gonna say, it finally feels like we have adults in the room. You know what I'm saying? Because it felt like child's play. It felt like, you know, it was recess for these guys up there. It was like a party. You know what I'm saying?
Around, right?
Yeah, playing around. The conversation was not at a high level, and we finally have adults in the room with a real plan that's taking the office and the job seriously. So that's my, as a matter of first impression, that's what I feel.
Yeah. Man, go ahead, man, because I already know.
Taking my drink,
know where
man.
you are.
Taking my drink.
I know where you are.
You know, I'm kind of counterculture, but you know, I get the sentiment of people wanting something different. I get the sentiment of people not wanting something different. You know, my background is closely tied in with the 2016 election and stuff like that. And that was my first time seeing a presidential election from that intimate side. I was with a PR company at the time, so we did a lot of work with the conservative side. So I just overall kind of feel like people fell for some more okey doke, some rhetoric. And I'm not a big rhetoric guy. I'm not saying that there was a great choice. And I guess that's kind of why is everybody so excited? Was there really a great choice in this race? And I get it. I guess it's polarizing. So I think that kind of explains people's reactions. So I'm kind of just taking it all in and just trying to gauge the reason why people feel the way they do, other than the fact of what we heard leading into the election. So now I guess I'm waiting to see.
I was Yang Gang. I was Yang Gang all the way, right? I liked Andrew Yang. I wasn't a huge Biden fan. But I remember listening to one of my coworkers, and they were saying they used to have a conversation with Marion Barry. And one of the things Marion Barry used to always say is, there are no permanent friends or enemies in politics. And if you understand that, then you can play the game. And if you can play the game, then, you know, there's a chance that you can win. And at least with Biden, I feel like you can play the game with Biden. Biden already sees right now, in order for him to get reelected, you know, he needs that vote. I think now is the opportunity. Now is the time for us to really push. We got to apply pressure now, because we thought we did. We thought we won 12 years ago,
Right.
And then we didn't apply pressure. And that's what...
I'd add to that too, is like, for me, like, I'm not comfortable at all. Like, there's not too many times we've had a president that I feel like is looking out for me.
Yeah.
As a black man in America, in the DC area, you know, like, I'm never comfortable, haven't been comfortable. Yes, we were more comfortable with Obama because he was a representation of us, but he's still in politics, and he has to appease a lot of people in a lot of different spaces. So I think, to your point, applying pressure, like, we can't get comfortable now. I didn't really celebrate. I said, oh, that's good. You know, we have another direction, hopefully, based on the things that were shared in their plans, right? But a plan is not action. So, like, now we need to make sure that the things that we want to happen actually happen by showing up, by going to meetings, by having conversations like this. Like, we now have to do more. Where I feel like before, you know, maybe with the last president, we maybe could have tried to fight, but it wouldn't have gone anywhere. I think the only thing positive now is that if we put energy into it, it might go somewhere. And I'm not saying it will, but that possibility, I think, is what people might be a little bit excited about. But again, it doesn't mean it's going to be turned into action.
What's your take on it? He hasn't spoken.
You got it.
Facts.
So let me start by this. I went into this as a voter that felt like I need to find the lesser two evils. That was my entire approach.
Right.
And I don't love Biden. I like the fact that he aligned himself with someone who represents a lot of America that was under and misrepresented. I feel like he spoke as an adult, to your point, and at least took a position of agreeing with science and what's going to get us out of this nightmare that the world is stuck in collectively. And we need to get back to being the leader of the world when it comes to best practices in every sense of the term. And I feel like he's making at least those promises. So that's one thing that to the point that we need to apply pressure now. So it's like, we got you in, now you need to make good on these promises. And we need to make sure that our communities are really clear on what we need. And that's where I think we kind of deviated, where we could have gotten more out of the Obama administration, where we didn't make clear pushes and put pressure where we could have. And that's, I think, the only reason there's a little bit more hope on the Biden camp than there was with the Trump camp, because we knew with Trump, he only cares about wealth. And if you already got it and you want to keep having it, then you're in a better place than Biden's going to really focus on.
Well, I think we're still in trouble regardless. So I say that because this election brought out the most voters in United States history. Right.
History.
But even with that, 71 million still wanted to re-elect Trump. And so, like, as people of color, how does that make y'all feel?
I mean, some of the folks that voted were people of color.
Okay.
Like, so I think there's this like
misconception.
Yeah, there's like this narrative of like almost like good versus evil, black versus white, when none of it is that clear cut. Nothing in life is that clear cut. The fact that we only have a 2-party system, it's just like it's like a day at the fun park almost here in the United States of America.
I feel like in this last election, if it wasn't clear cut, it was close to it. I mean, you got a president that wouldn't even denounce white supremacists in a debate. You know what I'm saying? So, well, I reckon I have a friend who has multiple businesses, and I know why he voted for Trump, because for the tax incentives.
Right.
So, and he's a black man. So, yeah, there are black people who vote for Trump, but I think he was a person who, well, I know he was a person that was dog whistling racist. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, do we want to have the leader of our country using this type of rhetoric? Like, what type of conversation do we want to have, in the public forum? Like, what's the temperature of the room? And so I think that's why everybody's excited, because they want to get away from that type of conversation and then get back to the real issues at hand, and not, Mar-a-Lago golf course. You know what I'm saying? But I was to Lawrence's point. I think, like you said, and if you look at the last days of the elections when they were counting the mail-in ballots, you had a lot of ballots coming in from black cities with high black populations. Right. And if you think back to early in the primary, one of the topics were, especially that was pushed by like the Breakfast Club, Charlamagne the God, reparations, like an agenda specifically for black people.
Right.
And so when you look at the percentages of who voted for who, you have 91% of black women voting for the Democratic Party, 80% of black men voting for the Democratic Party. And those are the highest percentages of any demographic that's out there. So it's like, black people are very loyal to you. So you need to have a very specific agenda dedicated to black people. And I think black people need to make it very clear that we might not be there for you in 2024 if you don't have a very specific agenda directed to us.
Plan on playing.
That was the most disrespectful.
What was it was a civil rights attorney, I think his name was like Lee Merritt or something like that. He put a tweet out, he was like, I don't take political advice from rappers. I just don't. And I was like,
But doesn't
okay.
it seem like society takes their life advice from pop culture lists?
But that's the problem. We just
Yeah,
had a
that's
president that was a reality TV
Yeah,
star.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
Super
but
famous,
that's
you
America.
know?
See, the problem with America is it likes to hide from who it is.
Yeah.
Like, even the fact that we don't want to have a race conversation when the whole thing was built on racism. You know, like, there has to be some type of... The fact that we basically went back to the old way of doing things. We don't want to know who doesn't like us. So how can you solve a problem if you don't know what the problem is? So we went back to these closet racism, all that. And I know I could address a problem. I know what it is. But this whole... Like, let's go back to sweeping things under the rug, PC. We never really got anywhere as people as PC. Something has to happen. There has to be some shakeup.
See, I disagree with you because you had these Trumpsters, you had these Republicans that were, and this is not an endorsement of the Democratic Party at all. But you had these Trump people running around talking about, oh, racism doesn't exist. You know what I'm saying? Like literally flat out denying racism. And I'm just like, what are you even talking about? You know what I'm saying? And so it's like to say that now that Biden Harris is now in the White House, that we're going to go back to not talking about race issues. I don't think that's necessarily true, but
I mean, when Obama's office, we had Trayvon, we had Ferguson,
Right,
we had Baltimore, we had New York.
right.
And there was no convictions. There was no anybody going to trial. And it
Right.
just became, and if you remember
Walter
what happened.
Scott,
Yeah, remember what happened during 2016 election.
Sandra
Liberal
Bland.
media gave Trump 40, 45. They gave him free airtime and just promote his thing. So this whole thing got wrapped up. And then as soon as it became polarizing, it became this issue where we want to blame someone and we wanted all these answers. But there's never, it's I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, yeah, you're crazy or you're cool until, and that's we're in this space where we're okay with like you don't want we can't even accept the Democratic Party, but it's like a win, and it's like the whole world is shaping up wins and we're not winning. It's like we got to lead at halftime, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like
It's a catch-22. It's a catch-22 for sure.
and then it's what is a lead, because you got, like you're talking about your folks that are voting for tax breaks and things of that nature. And I remember the first time I intimately had a conversation with a Republican. And dude wasn't super rich. I would expect him from my space 15 years ago that this dude was a Democrat just because he was so friendly. He was white. He liked black people, you know what I mean? And you're a Republican, bro, you know what I mean? And it's but he was like, listen, at the end of the day, my first obligations to my family. After that, how I help folks should be up to me.
That's where I'm going.
And I feel like people... There's all this jargon running around. Oh, he said this. He went and announced this. I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm Kmart and my biggest shoppers are people who like to buy, I don't know, GMO foods, am I going to announce GMO food?
Republicans buy Nikes too.
And
Michael Jordan.
And it's just
You know?
what I'm saying. So there's all these moments in life, and and the media help polarize these things too, because he went to war with them, and look, we're in this space now where traditional TV and everything. And during that time, I was in the TV business, broadcasting, everybody was trying to figure out what was the next thing 4 years ago. What's the next rule? And then you're going to denounce us when we put you in office, because TV puts everyone in office. It became this, I don't think anybody knew what left and right looked like because it was just so off. But the reality is, the place we live in has been off for a very long time. We accept fake history. We accept it all.
Wow.
And it's just when does it stop? But it's looking for a Band-Aid to fix something that requires surgery. And we don't want to accept that this needs surgery. So we need to get in there, nitty gritty, scalpel it out, and it's gonna be painful. There's gonna be, what's it called afterwards when you rehab. There's gonna be some extent. This is an ACL injury. You done ACL, PCL. You done tore the whole knee up, both of them. Now it's time to get back to work, but we just kind of want to go back to the same thing, and it's. I'd rather have something that's going to take me where I don't know, because I know where we've been. And at the end of the day, it becomes a very hard system to thrive in, especially as an entrepreneur. Typically, Democrats make harder barriers to market, things of that nature. And I believe for anybody, anything quarantine, COVID has taught us, you better get on your day job and figure out how to hustle on your own. So if that's it, you need least barriers to entry, less cost to register business, taxes, etc. And just historically speaking, if I'm going to be on my good foot myself, so that way when government, because we don't know what the Democrats would have done in this situation, the quarantine, I know I got me. And if I got me, I can help somebody else. But there's this attitude of I ain't got me, but if the government got me, government has me, then somehow we good. But that's never played out the way it seems to the thought process goes.
I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. I actually agree with you. But the problem that I have, that's not an endorsement for the Democratic Party, because I got my issues with them. We've been giving them our votes for decades, and they haven't delivered for us.
Can I jump in?
Go ahead.
Originally, black people, the Republican Party was
Abraham
the
Lincoln.
one that allowed us to vote. That gave us the opportunity and had our voice be heard. So it's
And
crazy
ended
how,
slavery.
and it's crazy how now, now we're all of a sudden Democrats. We've been tossed around. Our community's been tossed around many times.
For sure.
And I'll let you get to your point. Then I'll
The point that I was going to make was that when he was talking about his friend, the guy that he had the conversation with, where he was like, I gotta take care of me before I can help anybody else. But what it sounds like he was talking about was how the Democrats might talk about some level of socialism, right? And so the problem is that Republicans, in my opinion, they want to talk about Democrats, and they want to talk in a negative connotation about socialism as it pertains to giving things to poor people. But when it comes to giving things to wealthy
businesses,
you know what I'm saying, and they have no problem, with socialism. And so I hear what you're saying, but it's like a selective socialism.
it comes with the oversimplification of politics in America.
Yep.
And so it's like these catchphrases, these key terms that people use. Oh, he's a socialist, dude. If it wasn't for socialism, our government would have failed.
Do you know majority of people in this country are beneficiaries of the WIC program? Majority of people, you don't have to take my word for it, just look it up at some point later. But majority of these people go through the WIC program as children in this country.
Wow.
And by sheer volume, most of those people are white.
Yeah, we assume that it's like a brown thing, and that's
Right.
why there's this connotation with it.
Yeah.
All those people
Like-
in rural Kentucky,
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we get a perspective
And they
from
vote
the East and
Republican.
West Coast too.
Yeah.
The middle of America is in trouble, and that's how he.
All
won
of
them.
America's in
Yeah,
trouble right
yeah.
now. We have work to do.
That's true. There's a lot of work, but
Yeah, work.
The
I
middle
think
class
particularly-
pays for everything.
Yeah,
Jeff Bezos don't pay no taxes. Trump definitely don't.
$750 in taxes.
Right.
but I'm scared of getting mad. Can we ask how you do that? Like we can all do that for real.
Yeah,
You get an LLC, you get a trust.
We can have another podcast. I know exactly how to do that.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. People get mad out of ignorance, and that's where I'm like, yo, this is where we at. We mad because we can't figure out what the next
Because
guy
you didn't do
did.
research.
We haters. Man, we're a bunch of
That's true.
haters.
I think that's an oversimplification, man. Because if
True.
you got single parents going to work every day trying to. When they got time to figure out the tax code?
But that's the thing. It's part of.
They got time to be on
That's
Instagram.
that's part of a life. You need to know the tax code because to know that I could get write-offs by writing off from my LLC. That's not like rocket science.
Yeah.
That's like
You can go to H&R Block.
if you
They
can
do it.
figure out how to write a check, you can
H&R
figure out how to
Block's a rip-off.
register an LLC.
But you have that information, right?
You're right.
So it's access to information, right?
But
everyone doesn't have. Well,
May I preface this though? So how did I learn this information? I moved here within my first 6 months of moving. I met somebody who worked for the IRS, and he said, "Yo, I'm gonna put you on the game." He wasn't like, "No, Hev, get an LLC," but it wasn't like I researched. It wasn't.
you pay it forward.
Huh? I'm doing it right now, dude. No. You know me. I'm out here, So anything that I got, I want to give the game away for free. At the end of the day, there's a cyclical effect of giving out. Hey, this positive energy because if I can put money back in somebody's pocket, then it's cool. But that's a whole nother reason why people will take this game and not even implement it because they don't want to spend that $300 to get 3 racks back.
Right.
There's been years I got over 10 grand back in taxes because of LLC, because of purchases I made. And the reality is, you're making purchases again 50%. You're paying 50% for everything for the year, basically.
Nice. Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
So one of the points you made earlier about the different people and why they voted, I think at the end of the day, it's like, who are you and what's important to you? I think at the end of the day, right now, when COVID's going on and people don't have jobs, like your family, whether your food on your table is going to matter the most. And whoever is on TV that you could vote for that feels like they're going to solve that problem for you, no matter who you are, that's the person I think you're going to vote for. I think, then it's another part, like, okay, how comfortable are you as an individual? Then from there, you can be very community oriented. Oh, I'm going to help my neighbor. But guess what? If you got a stake in your house and your neighbor wants your stake, you're going to lock the door and not let them in, right? But once everybody has stakes, then everybody's cool. So I think it's about like how comfortable are you, and there's a lot of people that are uncomfortable in this country, and weirdly through COVID there's a lot of people that are more comfortable, right? So they're not going to be as like as community. So it's
But Lawrence, my guy, that's capitalism.
I get it. I get it.
That's essentially the definition.
But
That's
also-
literally
and
what
also-
capitalism
and also,
is.
that's human nature.
Yeah,
like-
capitalism is dog eat dog.
Yeah.
But is it, or is it just... If
You have to have a winner.
Survival of the
If
fittest.
you
You gotta
set out
have
to do something and you actually went ahead and did it, then you might win. Like at the end of the day, so COVID breaks out, I decide I want to start a food prep business because people all of a sudden don't have time even though they're home.
Right.
But whatever that happened. But there's this idea that like capitalism's bad. It's all about how you choose to capitalize and in turn do what you do. Just like your vote or whatever. Your money is your vote. And that's the other thing. If we could back up this whole power of the vote thing and like who's going to take care of us and like the amount of pressure we got to put. The pressure's put on before the winners won. The pressure's put on when you donate dollars to their super PACs, where you can give unlimited amount of money as corporations or organizations. And this is the same game we're not playing. We're getting mad that the game is won or lost in a certain way, but we're never actually going to play basketball. This is basketball. We're going to play football. We brought a football to the basketball court, and this is why we're not getting any buckets.
You got to know the game.
Exactly.
You got to know the rules to the game. In order to win the game, you have to know the rules
But
to
we
the
all
game.
want to trust the central source, which is television or whatever centrally gets put in us. But the same people that we don't really want to vote for are the same folks that are telling us that this is the way we're going to be impacted. Make this vote. But the reality is, put that dollar.
Yeah, money
Yeah.
matters.
Figure out how to that super PAC, and those are the people that they're financially obligated to listen to for the first quarter of those years.
So my question is, that's a perfect transition. Is like what now?
I think I know I push back on what Marcus had to say a lot, but I think Marcus is right. That entrepreneurship, that side hustle, that making sure that you got something else going on in these uncertain situations, uncertain times. Well, I guess all times are really uncertain because you just never know what might happen. A global pandemic might break out. You know what I'm saying?
So with that, I'm just gonna transition to hustle. Because and I'm gonna point to you. You like the biggest hustler I know, right? And I mean that like fully legit. But like you're thinking about like everything that we've been going through. COVID and having to change up a lot. I know you've been in real estate for a while, and I know that, the way you looked at things before is different than the way you're looking at things now. Maybe you could just like provide us with some insight to just like in general, like what it means to like hustle during this time for all of y'all, for you and your families, to make sure that you guys are okay.
I mean, first things first, I think people need to understand what makes sense for them. So like, for instance, Marcus had some background when he changed his lifestyle with the food prep and knowing that so many people don't know anything about that. So he was just doing his thing, doing what he's great at, and then other people picked up on it. With no marketing, it turned into a business. Out of survival, I had to find ways during a recession, coming out of college, I had a finance and a real estate double major. I was cooking, and then the whole market fell apart. So I had to figure it out. So I had to recut a path that came from a lot of education. That's seeking out people that had what I wanted and find a mentor. Find someone that you don't even have to respect who they are, but how they do it. And then learning from multiple different sources. I think we depend on one source once there's something that's closest to us. And then whatever that is, that's where we stop. You gotta like continuously digest information. Everyone wants to watch every series and binge watch this, but what about the master classes? What about seeking out information that's really condensed? They now have Ivy League courses now that you can get for $300 a class online. So I think we need to start motivating our young people to be hustlers of information and education, and then how to monetize it, and then aligning them with people who have what they want, the success, the lifestyle, the path, the journey that they want. And so that's how I always found my path, or recut it or redefine it. So getting into real estate, I saw how people did things that I couldn't sleep with how they did it. So I kind of did my own way. I now, instead of going to auctions, I now do it before the auctions, recut a whole path. Daycares are going to be here forever. So I was like, boom, people are going to not stop dying, not stop getting old, not stop being born. 2 of them are sad, 1 of them's happy. So that's how I cut my path. I said, babies. And so it's like, you just got to think of what's never going to stop being in demand. And we need to put ourselves serving our communities in those regards, and find ways to monetize. And then together as communities, being able to have businesses aligning themselves. Like, I have referrals for markets he doesn't even know of after our 5-minute conversation of people that need his service. But you have to take the time to do it, and to continuously expanding your network, talking to who matters, finding out who the underserved portions of our communities are, and then bridging those gaps. So I think those are the kind of dialogues we need to have, and then bringing the politicians into those forums, those venues, and saying, you want us with you? You need to bring some funding. Help us get some grant money. Take some pictures for you need the PR, but we need to get some backing, and making those demands. And then once we have those open dialogues, by the way, bring the police out here too, because we need to meet every police officer in this precinct. They need to know every brown and black kid by name, so we don't fear them. And they know that's Tyrone, that's JJ, that's Jimmy. So they're not just troublemakers or thugs or whatever they want to call them. And that's what's going to kind of bring us together as Americans and make us stronger, so we can be greater instead of diluting what we want to be.
Yeah, man. I think this is, and it's the start of the conversation. Earlier I was listening to Marcus, and you were talking about step by step. Someone once asked me, "Yo, can you eat an elephant?" I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a big animal, but the right answer was yeah. You can. You have to take it one bite at a time. And I think that instead of us trying to solve these big problems all at once, we break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces, and you do what you can do. You focus on the things that you're good at, and if we keep doing it, man, we'll chip away at this problem, man. Thanks for you guys coming over here. Y'all know this is Lawrence's spot. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit of history behind this spot in general, man.
No, it's cool. I mean, I think for me, first of all, being able to sit down with friends, like sit down with people, have a drink. The way to solve some of this is to have these conversations. But for me, it's like, in all ways, I'm very clear about where I came from. So my grandparents were, in their family, one of the first families moved north, closer to DC from Virginia. And they've always stuck with me. My grandma had a master's in English from St. Paul University, African American woman. She's an AKA.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, so this bar I actually named after my grandparents. So George and Atlanta was my grandparents, and I know without them we wouldn't have these opportunities. So I always pay homage to them, and then also let's think about the next generations, how we influence them. So it's good to have y'all here, hang out, and have a drink with friends.
So nice. To the legacy.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I ain't got no more left.
We go re-up. We have more.